Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. And in this week's local news, what is the big story of the week? And if you think your township taxes are going up, you could be wrong.
Stay tuned and learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. The big story for this week, a lawsuit against the Village of Oxford by former village clerk Patricia Padd, resulting in a $300,000 settlement. Padd was terminated in 2011 after accusations were made by village manager Joe Young and former village office employee Maureen Helmuth that Padd embezzled funds from the village. The Oxford Village Council considered the information brought to them and voted to release Padd from her duties. Embezzlement charges were later filed against her, and the jury trial resulted in an acquittal due to lack of evidence. Padd then later answered the charges by filing a suit against the village, asserting a violation against her constitution and malicious prosecution. The court agreed, awarding Padd $300,000 in settlement, which will be compensated by village insurance.
If you thought the dormitory for international Chinese students was a done deal, don't bank on it quite yet. Still to come are meetings with parents and residents who may want to voice concerns and to make adjustments to the plans. Plus, the current dormitory plans have been settled with the current school board members. However, a number of the board member seats could be filled by new members who may be in opposition to the plan. Under the proposal, a private Chinese educational group will finance the construction of the project proposed to be built at the corner of Ray and Oxford Roads. Stay tuned to OCTV for updates as the story develops.
No new taxes is the good news Oxford Township residents heard this week. No new operating tax increase for 2015. Since the 1990s, the Board of Trustees have kept the operating tax levy at 0.95 mil. Here's a reminder, however, there are other potential increase avenues to watch for, such as fire, EMS, police, law enforcement, parks and recreation, library, and NOTA levies approved by past township elections. Learn more about township millages by contacting the township clerk at Dunlop Road Administration Building.
Over the strong objections of many residents who packed the Township Board chamber last week, the Township Planning Commission approved by a 4-3 vote plans to rezone township property for multi-dwellings. On two separate occasions, residents stormed the commission asking them to refuse the rezoning request to turn more than 42 wooded acres into a 32-home subdivision. The submitted site plans for White Pines Estate Development includes construction of 32 new homes located on the north side of Stanton Road, just east of Baldwin. In spite of a full house of township residents objecting to the rezoning, the Planning Commission approved a plan that is in direct conflict with the Township Master Plan, according to the residents. The Commission voted to allow property owners Hamlin LLC of Rochester Hills to rezone his 42.5-acre property from its current 5-acre zoning requirements to lots of 1 to a half an acre. Although the residents used the democratic process of requesting their representatives ensure their rural preservation, the residents are now developing plans on their own to protect their trees, birds, water, and privacy in their own backyard.
It looks like the Oxford Village Council has an interesting election coming up on November 4th. There are now 9 residents vying for all 5 board seats. 4 candidates were nominated by voters at the August primary, which will now allow their names to appear on your November ballot. They are Susan Bossardi, Brian Cloutier, Maureen Helmuth, and Rose Bema. And 5 residents would like voters to take the time to write their names on the ballot. Those council seat hopefuls are Dave Bailey, Bonnie Staley, Tanya Hauser, Denise Chesney, and Tom Kennis. Those running for positions will probably have representatives outside of the polling stations to tell you what you need to know to vote for them.
Would you like to purchase a prime piece of downtown property in Oxford? The township is proposing the sale of their 5,000 square foot building for the low price of $516,000. The building is currently being used for senior activities and township meetings. In addition, the township owns a nearly 24,000 square foot parking lot behind the building. This piece of prime property has been appraised at $56,000. If interested, contact the Township Hall for more information.
Con artists masquerading as charities can victimize anyone. Those especially at risk are senior citizens, but seniors can safeguard against being a victim by following some simple rules. 1. Never donate over the phone. No reputable charity will ask for donations over the phone. And 2, keep a list handy of charities, addresses, and amounts that you have given to before. Con artists will pretend to be a charity, claiming that you've donated before. Don't believe them. Number 3, do not feel obligated to give. Some criminals will send you a small gift, luring you into their scam. Don't take the bait. Number 4, never share your personal information with strangers. And 5, if you feel uncomfortable, share your discomfort with a trusted friend or close relative. Well, Terry, what's up?
Speaking of victimization, we had some feedback on our news from last week, which I really appreciate. Some residents were complaining that we didn't fully cover the board meeting of the school board last week in our news, and they were talking about coaches being bullies, and that we didn't cover that, which I did address in my news piece. However, we are not done with that story. I'm really excited that people are actually giving us feedback about our news pieces, and we do have to cover that story further when we get further information. And the good part is, if you've missed a board meeting such as that, you can watch it on OCCTV.org, right?
You sure can. And I guess I'd just like to remind the people out there that we can't get all the information from a news story on. We try to be impartial in doing journalism as it can be done with the truth information, being portrayed, to the viewers out there.
We give it a try anyhow.
Yeah. So I thought it was a well done piece.
Thank you.
Everybody has their own opinion on this, and that's great, and that's what makes it interesting, is the fact that now we have viewers that we know are going to be watching us very close. See what we're going to say or do, huh?
Right, keeping us honest, and I really appreciate that too. And like I said, we will continue with that board meeting stories as we get the information. We're not going to assume information, nor do I want to sensationalize information. No. And that was a heated board meeting, and those viewers that wrote into me are right. It was a very heated board meeting on both sides, but I was reporting on 2 particular instances, and like I said, we'll cover it. And watch us at OCCTV.org as well. That's it for news this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories that we've done or others, pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or watch us at OCTV. And this is news that you want to watch.
And coming up on OCTV, Oxford Local Sports with Andy Curtis, Oxford School News with John Ochins, and join us with Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
That's it for Oxford News this week, where your news is closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, legislation that would prevent Tesla Motors from selling its electric vehicle lineup directly to Michigan consumers has cleared the state's legislative chambers and is awaiting the signature of Republican Governor Rick Snyder. Right now, the governor's office is evaluating the bill, and there has not been a decision to sign it or not to sign it as of yet, Snyder's spokesman said on October 15th. The deadline to sign the bill is October 21st. House Bill 5606, first introduced in May, was initially crafted to determine whether automakers could stop affiliated franchise dealers from charging customers certain types of fees. Daniel Crane, a University of Michigan law professor, wrote in a letter to Snyder's office. The bill's sponsor, Michigan Representative Eric Nesbitt, a Republican, told Crane's Detroit Business, an affiliate of Automotive News, that the bill first passed the House in mid-September and that it had nothing to do with Tesla. But once the bill was sent to the Senate on October 1st, the anti-Tesla language is added, and there was no debate or public attention brought to the revised measure. The amended bill passed the Senate 38-0 on October 2nd and was sent back to the House, where that afternoon it was approved 106-1 with the new anti-Tesla language in it. Terry Burns, Executive Vice President of the Michigan Automobile Dealers Association, said that Tesla is more than welcome to come to Michigan, but that he would assume that the automaker would want to follow Michigan law. Dermot O'Connell, Tesla's Vice President of Business Development, said in an interview October 15th that there's a basic fairness issue here. By adding the amendment at the last minute, O'Connell said dealers are acting against Tesla's sincere efforts to do business, and Tesla's only request, O'Connell said, is that the issue be debated in public in the light of day. Spokespersons for the House and Senate Democrats said their caucuses were unaware of the effect the added language had on Tesla. And spokespersons for the House and Senate Republicans did not respond immediately to a request for comment. Nesbitt, the bill's sponsor, didn't respond either. Well, over at Chevrolet is broadening its green vehicle offerings by adding an electric vehicle model to a lineup that includes the Volt plug-in hybrid and the Spark EV mini car. Two people familiar with GM's plans have said that the company is working on an EV based on the current version of the Sonic, that is, subcompact, that would have a range of about 200 miles. It's scheduled for sometime in 2017, the sources said. Last year, then GM CEO Dan Akerson said the company was working on a car that would travel about 200 miles on a single charge. The Spark EV is sold only in Oregon and California, even though people wish we would sell it all around the country, Royce said. Maybe it will. Well, on the recall front, Chrysler Group is recalling more than 900,000 cars and SUVs combined for potential safety problems that could cause fires. Chrysler says it is recalling about 470,000 cars and SUVs globally from model years 2011 to 14 and equipped with a 3.6-liter engine and a 160-amp alternator. The alternator may suddenly fail, possibly causing a stall or fire and increasing the risk of a crash, according to NHTSA documents. The second recall covers about 437 Jeep Wrangler SUVs globally from model years 2011 to 13 because of a fire risk, according to NHTSA documents. They said water in the exterior heated power mirror electrical connector could cause an electrical short. And at Toyota, on the recall front, Toyota Motor Corporation, it says, is recalling a total of 1.6 million vehicles globally in a voluntary move to address 3 separate defects, including a faulty brake master cylinder that could hinder the brake's performance. Toyota said it was not aware of any crashes, injuries, or deaths resulting from the defects. Some 1 million vehicles will be recalled in Japan and 615,000 overseas, covering several Toyota models, including Lexus models IS, GS, and LS sedans. Toyota is recalling about 802,000 vehicles manufactured between June of 2007 and June of 2012 to replace a rubber seal ring in the brake master cylinder to prevent brake fluid from leaking. If brake fluid has already leaked, the brake booster will be replaced. A second recall of about 759,000 vehicles globally, including 423,000 in the United States, will fix faulty fuel delivery pipes that could, in the worst-case scenario, cause a fire through a fuel leak. And some of these vehicles are also subject to the first recall. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Kathy Ritter, and I represent the American Red Cross for the Oxford and Lake Orion area. I wanted to stop by today and thank all of you for your support over the years, saving so many lives in our community. The need for blood is constant, and because of your willingness and generosity to donate blood on a continuous basis, many people are experiencing better health today. We may never know whose lives we touch with the blood that we donate. Someone's mother, someone's husband, someone's child perhaps. But I can't think of another more important reason to donate blood than to know that someone somewhere may be alive and well today because of our donation. Now here on your screen, you'll see a list of all the blood drives that will be running in your area during the month of October. Hopefully, we'll be bringing this information to you on a regular basis so that you can find a blood drive that's convenient for you and make an appointment to donate. You'll be so glad you did. Thank you for all you do to help us save lives. Remember, the person's life you save one day just might be your own. See you all soon.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcats School Update. The Boulder Point Banquet Room was the center of activity as 8 of the 9 Oxford School Board candidates appeared at a forum hosted by the Greater Oakland Republican Club. The audience placed questions on cards that were randomly drawn from a fishbowl. 8 questions were asked in all over the 2-hour event. The candidates present were Kimberly Shoemaker, Mark Stepek, Joyce Brazington, Paula Foster, Amy Hamilton, Angela Mitchell, Pam Phelps, and Mike Schwig. You can view the event in its entirety during the public meetings time slot Monday through Friday from 1 to 4:30 p.m. It will also be on the web at OCCTV.org. We will also have a special edition of Schooling Around on the forum. Teacher Dan Balsley over at Oxford High's Auto Tech is hosting his Mini Mites competition this week. This is to prepare for the Mites competition that will be coming up later this year. We will be checking in with Dan and his kids and report back on it next week. We paid a visit to the Oxford High School Fine Arts Center and caught up with Katie Koivunen and her dance company. They're preparing for an in-house Halloween show coming up in a few days. Katie tells us more about her program and what's happening this year.
The Oxford Arts Conservatory, our goal is to broaden dance, open that up for kids, whether they just want to do it in high school, go professional, or go to college for dance. We have an audition, so we do take into the actual program, usually kids who have some background in dance, but we do offer an introduction level for anyone who just wants to start dancing once they get to high school.
Yeah, and you have a couple of kids who are going to be in the upcoming performance in that category, don't you?
Right, exactly, yes.
Yeah. What's coming up this year? Give us an idea of some of the stuff.
Friday, October 24th, although it's just for students, we're doing our first Halloween show. It'll be during the second hour period, and we're doing 3 different pieces. The advanced level, the intermediate level, and the intro level are each doing a piece, as well as the company is doing their own dance. But that's just for second hour, it's just for students. And then we're dancing at Oakland Dance Festival in November, and then our first time performing at Oakland University during their winter concert in December.
We spoke with Maggie Malfroy and Elise Dudley, 2 of the dancers in the program, who tell us more about dancing in the curriculum and as an extracurricular.
So it's all part of the Dance Conservatory. So the conservatory is the in-school. It's 2 hours. It's like a 2-hour block, first and second hour.
Yeah.
And it's like we do ballet and modern. And then for after school, it's the conservatory company, which is like an extra thing that if you like want to do it, you can. And we perform at other performances. Yeah, we have a special competition.
We'll be following that program as the year goes on. Jim Gibbons is our leader of the bands, the band director of our Oxford High School concert and marching bands, that is. He tells us about their upcoming concert.
We have our concert program. We have a huge concert October 29th at the Performing Arts Center. That's our Bandorama concert, and that concert features the jazz band, all 3 of our concert bands, and the marching band. So you get to see the band program as a whole on that evening, and each band does a couple tunes. The marching band plays their show inside, and we usually have a huge crowd for that. We have a great time. It's a really fun event for the band program to have everybody there and doing the concert together.
Any special themes for the band, the concerts coming up?
No, not really. When I pick music for the concert band, it's music that is. Sometimes I have a little bit of a theme, but right now for this first concert, I'm focused on picking music that's going to develop certain skills within the students that are playing. So. We're doing stuff that focuses on articulation, or might focus on tone quality and intonation, just to develop the skills that we need as the school year progresses.
That's the Oxford Wildcat School News for this week. Don't forget to catch the School Board Candidate Forum between 1 and 4:30 p.m. on Channel 191 and on AT&T at Channel 99. Also on our website, OCCTV.org, and an overview on schooling around. Dave is next with Science in the News, then Andy with sports. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Hello Wildcat fans, I am Andy Curtis and this is once again your Oxford Sports Update. The varsity football team had a huge win on Friday, beating Bloomfield Hills 35-14 and securing themselves the third place spot in the OCAA Deadly Redley Division. Coach Bud and the boys will now go into this week's crossover game at Oak Park this upcoming Friday, with the playoffs starting next week. Now, do you want some more football? Of course you do. And what better way to celebrate football than with our Spartans, our number 8th nationally ranked Spartans, who won in enemy territory, beating the Indiana Hoosiers in Bloomington last Saturday, 56-17. Now, things weren't looking so green in the second quarter when the Hoosiers actually held a small lead, but MSU righted the ship, putting up 42 unanswered points, winning the game and letting the Spartan faithful relax and enjoy the rest of our Saturday afternoon. Quarterback Connor Cook threw for 332 yards of the Spartans' 662 total offensive yards, and wide receiver Tony Lippett went for over 100 yards for the 5th time this season. Over on the defensive side of the ball, our Spartan Dogs allowed Indiana to throw for just 11 passing yards. Now that's the fewest allowed since Coach D'Antonio began his coaching career with the Spartans. The win also marked the 70th win for Coach D in the 100 games he has coached for the school on the banks of the Red Cedar. Over in the NFL, the Lions turned a lackluster performance into a nail-biting finish Sunday, beating the Saints on a throw and a prayer 24-23. Now, in a game I loudly declared unwinnable to all those sitting around me as I stormed off to the restroom at Ford Field, the Lions were down 13 points with 5 minutes to go in the game, and still without Megatron, Lions had to lean on their defense, which is still the best in the league. Golden Tate, our Calvin stand-in for the time being, turned a short pass into a very impressive 73-yard touchdown, and the mighty Glover Quinn came up with a huge game-saving interception with 2 minutes and 57 seconds left to play. Stafford then ended the game with a third down bullet to Corey Fuller for a touchdown with only 1 minute 48 remaining. Now this win puts the Lions at 5-2, still tied for first place in the NFC North with Green Bay, and puts them in a good spot as they head over to jolly old England to play Atlanta this Sunday at 9 a.m. Another winning pro team of ours is the Red Wings, who beat the Toronto Maple Leafs back-to-back Friday and Saturday this weekend, winning Saturday night at home with Jonas Gustafsson earning a shutout in his first start in net for the Wing Wheelers, and Hank Zetterberg getting the overtime win. This win puts the Wings in 4th place in the Atlantic Division in the East, just behind Montreal, Ottawa, and Tampa Bay for some reason. Now that it is hockey season and hockey experiences are underway, here is your opportunity to sound a little smarter around your friends with today's sports vocab word of the day. Light the lamp is another term for scoring a goal in hockey. It's called this because in the NHL, when a goal is scored, the red light behind the net flashes on, resembling a lamp being lit, I guess. Now, I'm Andy Curtis, and remember, you can catch all of our broadcasts of your favorite Oxford High School games between 1 and 6 right here on OCTV, or check us out online under the programs section of OCCTV.org. And now make sure you follow us on Twitter at OCTV Sports. There you can follow us as we broadcast from your favorite Oxford High School sports. Also remember, too, this is your community station, so if you have a sports idea, shoot me an email at andrewcurtis23@gmail.com and put OCTV Sports in the subject line. Now, of course, that was all the sports news you need to know. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. Well, it could be the biggest killer you've never heard of, the weakening and loss of muscle that happens as we get older. Muscle loss is no longer seen as just a side effect of disease and frailty, it's also a prime cause. As well as contributing to falls, muscle loss has serious side effects. In the future, muscle-boosting drugs could aid those unable to maintain muscle mass through exercise, such as weight training. Although researchers stress this isn't about bodybuilding but keeping muscles in your limbs at a healthy level. Muscle loss, also known as sarcopenia, is increasingly being seen as an important facet of aging, according to several speakers at a conference on longevity drugs held in Basel, Switzerland last month. Treatments will eventually get into the market, says Dan Perry of the patient lobby group Alliance for Aging Research. However, the mechanisms behind muscle aging are still poorly understood, although new research suggests it involves damage from free radicals. Mice that have been genetically modified to produce fewer free radicals in their mitochondria are known to live about 20% longer than normal mice. So, a team led by Andrew Marks at Columbia University in New York investigated how this affected the aging of their muscle tissue. They found that a key player is calcium, the release of which triggers our muscles to contract. The molecule responsible for this release, ryanodine receptor 1, is damaged by free radicals, and as the rodents age, calcium begins to leak out when it shouldn't, weakening muscle fibers. The modified mice experience less free radical damage to the ryanodine receptor 1. They also had stronger muscles and in old age chose to run on their exercise wheels more than unmodified mice by about an extra kilometer a day. It helps point to the role that mitochondria play in the muscle aging process, says Daniel Moore of the University of Toronto in Canada. Marks has founded a firm called Armgo to develop several compounds aimed at preventing calcium leakage, which are in early stage clinical trials. Other drugs are in development that combat sarcopenia in different ways. Muscle fibers are in constant state of turnover, being simultaneously broken down and regrown, so any compound that tips the balance towards growth could help build muscle mass. One class includes the compound bimagrumab, which works by blocking a signaling pathway targeted by an inhibitor of muscle growth called myostatin. Others work by mimicking the effects of testosterone in a safer way than existing steroid drugs. It's only within the last 6 months that U.S. researchers have even agreed on how to define the condition essential before a drug treatment can be approved. The U.S. National Institutes of Health published its results in May. In the meantime, there is already a natural way to boost muscle: exercise. The mitochondrial function of lifelong exercises is like that of someone half their age, says Moore. One of the best anti-aging pills is to stay active. There you go. And in outer space, what is it doing up there? A top-secret U.S. spaceplane is due to land this week after a record-breaking 22 months in orbit. The X-37B, a miniature uncrewed version of the space shuttle built by Boeing for the U.S. Air Force, has flown 3 times, but its purpose is a mystery. Surveillance? Carrying out classified space experiments? We don't know. The X-37B first flew in 2010 and again in 2011 and 2012. It launches aboard a conventional rocket using solar panels for power while in orbit and gliding to Earth on its return on its own. The Air Force has said it will take over former shuttle hangars at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, suggesting it plans to expand the X-37B operations. Officials at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California would say only that they were preparing for the X-37B to land and disclosed no further details. Talk about a black program. Woohoo! And on the disease front, small children have a reputation as disease magnets. That's partly a result of their lax personal hygiene, but also because their immune systems are still developing. Could we turn that vulnerability into an early warning system for disease? Well, they're like a canary in a coal mine, says Andrew Hashikawa at the University of Michigan. But most public health departments do not regularly monitor nurseries and daycare centers for outbreaks of illness. So Hashikawa's team asked 4 centers in Michigan looking after about 600 under 5s to test a web-based system for 4 months last winter. The staff reported daily absences due to illnesses such as colds, flu, stomach bugs, and conjunctivitis. Crucially, the team saw a 2-day spike in stomach bugs that seemed to foreshadow a gastroenteritis outbreak among school-aged children in the county 3 weeks later. Such an early warning would give schools and nursing homes time to step up hygiene measures, says Hashikawa, who presented the study last week at the American Academy of Pediatrics conference. For flu, such surveillance could remind adults to get vaccinated as outbreaks are starting, and I need to do that myself. Well, that's it for this edition for Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.